All right, thank you for coming and watching, everybody. Today I'm interviewing Jonah Richman, who I know through a business mentoring group that we're both in, and he is an Instagram strategist. So I'm gonna kind of semi-attack him about that, but I'm also gonna let him introduce himself. So Jonah, do you want to tell us a little bit about maybe your business and what you do?
Sure. Yeah. So I help people primarily with Instagram, and mostly coaches I work with, but also some people who are more like educators or course creators.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so it's mainly about helping them to kind of learn their way around how to use Instagram, how to grow their following, how to create content that produces a lot of engagement,
Mm.
and then to actually have clients come from Instagram.
Mm.
So
Which is
so
what
yeah,
everybody wants, right?
right. I mean, that's the goal for most businesses.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I feel like my first question is like, why Instagram? Because most people will say, oh, Facebook's the first platform you should focus on. And you have to do your website, you have to do all these other things first. So I'm really interested in why you came
Yeah.
to focus on Instagram mostly.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, so my background is I used to be a relationship coach and a nonviolent communication trainer. Like
Cool.
that was my main business for a lot of years, about 9 years. And so that was like, I was going through the journey of building that business that I started
Mm.
to really learn online marketing. And
Mm-hmm.
so I was doing Facebook mainly back then, like most people. And Instagram, I feel like, was just sort of like this little side thing that I didn't pay
Mm.
a lot of attention to, but I'd sort of like share my content over there, and I'd have some followers, but for whatever reason, I didn't spend a lot of time on Instagram.
Mm.
And but so when I started this business, it was just about a year ago, a little over a year ago, that I started offering services as a marketing coach. I was
Mm-hmm.
doing it before, but I didn't just like step into it and say, okay, now I'm doing it like
Yeah.
online.
Yeah.
So that's new, and so I was starting from scratch. Like I didn't have a following yet, and I felt
Mm.
like I just decided, I started off just kind of on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn, and it was kind of just in multiple places.
Yep.
But pretty early on, I decided, I'm going to just focus on Instagram. I
Oh,
found that, like, through my experience, Facebook can be really hard, especially with pages, in order
mm.
to get any traction. Like you kind
Yes.
of have to pay to play there. Where I found Instagram, that wasn't the case.
Mm.
You can really, if you know how to use Instagram, you could really grow a following without doing any ads. I mean, I have done a little bit of ads
Yep.
to, but yeah, and I just feel like Facebook, I mean, they have different things. The tactics are a little different, but I found part of it was just like really zeroing in on one
Mm.
place
Yeah.
has been really big. I mean,
Yeah.
before, it's like it's hard to kind of have your eggs all in a bunch of different baskets, and
Yeah.
you're focused in multiple places. And for
Yeah.
me, I just felt like, I want to really just build my following and my community in one place so I don't have to switch around. Also, Instagram has like a particular kind of style.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's certain types of posts that you can do on Instagram that you can't do on Facebook, and actually
True.
like some of those styles, like carousels,
Yeah, cool.
particularly. So that's some of the reason why. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I guess you do also like to support small businesses, and you've sort of married those two, like Instagram and small business. So like, why is Instagram so good for small business compared to
Yeah, I mean, it's
other?
not even just small businesses. It's more narrow to mainly coaches. Like I
Yeah.
work with, I don't tend to work with people who are selling products.
Oh, yeah.
More people who are selling either coaching or selling courses
Yep.
or some kind of a educational offer. Yeah, I mean, I think Instagram is a great platform for that. Um, I'm not sure. Did I miss your question? So it's like, what?
Well, just
Oh,
like
oh, oh, why?
why Instagram for them particularly? Like, what's the kind of golden opportunity that Instagram has?
Sure. I mean, I think really, I guess it does kind of go for all businesses. I find that people tend to engage more with businesses on Instagram.
Yeah.
Like I think in general, people kind of think of Facebook as the place where they connect with all their friends and
Mm-hmm.
family
Mm-hmm.
and like old schoolmates and stuff.
Mm.
And like, and they'll join groups. I mean, groups is a big way that people make Facebook work. But other than that, it's like Instagram, I think, is where people tend to follow. People are a little more picky about who they follow. People tend to people are more inclined to follow businesses. They really like
Mm.
to go on Instagram to learn, to connect with things that really feel like them.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like, I feel like Instagram kind of offers a little more, uh, I don't know, just kind of ease for people. And then
Yeah.
the algorithm, I think, just tends to support businesses better than Facebook does.
Mm. Yeah, I'm just thinking about my own user actions. And it's true, like in my fun account, not my business account, I do follow business accounts really readily, or people who are promoting themselves really readily, because I really enjoy their content. And I guess on
On
the other side of
Instagram,
that, as a
you're saying,
business
right?
person,
Yeah,
when I run ads for clients, I definitely see that Instagram gets a lot more engagement. Like it does
right,
seem that people are more willing to engage with businesses on Instagram than they are on Facebook. So yeah, I feel
right.
like that makes a lot of sense. The other thing that I wondered about is that, Instagram, the other thing that can happen. I mean, I see some people who are like influencers and they've got all the right moves and they have these massive audiences, but you don't really have a massive audience. And I've heard you talk about that before, about how Instagram can work when you don't have a big audience and why a big audience doesn't really matter. So I'm really interested in hearing you talk about that again, because a lot of my clients either have been focusing on Facebook and don't really get why they would bother coming to Instagram. So I feel like, we've sort of teased that out. But then there's the question of like, but don't I need to follow, like have lots of followers, and don't I need to focus on like getting followers? Whereas I think I've heard you speak on that. I was like, oh, that's just like, it feels like such a relief that like what you offer in terms of how to mentally approach that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, and I mean, first of all, like for people who are on Facebook and they're deciding whether or not to switch to Instagram, I mean, I would say for most people, like I believe that if you're a solopreneur, like you're doing everything yourself, I like, and unless your business gets to, like when you're at the point where you can hire someone to help you, then I think it's a good time to kind of be on multiple platforms.
Mm,
But before that, I really encourage people to really zone in and learn one platform really well, because they're all really
mm,
different. So if Facebook is really working for people, I would say just stay there and keep doing it.
yeah.
But if people are on Facebook and they're struggling with it, like they're feeling like they're not getting traction or it's not really clicking for them,
Mm,
then I think Instagram is a great, like potentially switching to Instagram can be a really great option.
mm,
And but yeah, so when it comes to followers, I mean, gaining followers, I think that's not even just an Instagram thing. That's kind of like every platform is about like growing how many followers can you get. I
mm,
see that on Facebook a lot too.
mm,
And I think I sort of have like multiple takes on that. I mean, for one, I think it's good to grow our following. I don't
mm,
think that, and I'm not someone who's like, no, don't even try to grow your following. It's like, no, growing a following is important.
yeah.
Um, and I mean, my following's is smaller. I mean, compared to a lot of Instagram influencers who have like 100,000 followers or 500,000 followers or whatever. I
Mm,
have I have like I have 730 followers, I think,
yeah.
about like right now,
Yeah.
which is not a lot. But the thing is for one, like my followers are growing pretty fast. I've
Mm,
gotten like just in the last month, I like 200 more followers or so. So um, which I think is great. Growing a following is part of the deal. But the
mm,
thing is not just growing a following, it's what kind of following are you growing?
mm,
So it's really important to grow a following on any platform really, but particularly on Instagram, that's really engaged. Like
mm,
social media and Instagram, it's a place where people are on there to engage. And so um, a lot of people on Instagram may have a lot of followers, but they don't have a lot of engagement,
mm,
which also means that well, I mean, part of it, so engagement is like how many people are commenting, how many
Yeah.
people are liking, how many people are doing things like this. And even that it is, like that's just kind of a measurement that shows like how much are my followers really like caring about what I post,
Mm,
right? And then so when you have a followers who really, when you have a high engagement, then you tend to get more clients. So that's the
mm.
thing. So I have like 700 followers. I started enrolling clients on Instagram with less than 200 followers.
Yeah, great.
Um,
I think that's a great story. I love that because you don't have to wait so long. It's not this big long road. Like I'm only going to start like making money in my business when I get to 10K. I don't know what it is about 10K.
No, yeah, totally. Yeah, you don't need 10K. I mean, I think if your goal is to get to 10K until you try to get clients, if getting clients is your business model,
Mm,
um, yeah, I don't think you're doing it right, you know?
mm,
Um, and so yeah, so what I was saying though is like the engagement, like getting back to engagement, I think that's really important is like,
mm,
how are you watching your engagement levels? Because if you have a small following but high engagement, that's one of the big things that makes it so you can get clients
mm,
with a small following. And then
mm,
as your following does grow, which it doesn't have to be 10,000, but then it just becomes easier and easier
mm.
to start enrolling clients. And just to what I recommend that people do to check that is there's an app called Not Just Analytics,
Oh yeah.
and it's a little bit glitchy, but when it works, it's nice because and it's free. It has a free
Yeah, I'm gonna
option,
write that
but it
down.
tells you your percentage. So it's the percentage of how many engagements are you getting relative to your follower count.
Yeah.
And so like part of the reason why I've been able to enroll clients through Instagram is because my engagement rate per follower is very high.
Mm,
Like I've through the type of content that I'm offering, people tend to really engage a lot with my content, so they're paying attention,
mm,
which means that more clients tend to sign up.
mm.
So my percentage is much higher than average.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things that I really help people do is like building that community that's really engaged, that really is paying attention. So
Yeah.
then, yeah.
Yeah, and do you help people develop their content? Because what my question is like, right, well, if I know what I'm offering people and I want to start on Instagram, well, then what should I say on there?
Right. Yeah, and that's one of the things I think that people get, like what I find is a lot of people who don't have, like one of the mistakes I guess a lot of people make with Instagram is they use Instagram, they just try to sell, like they're selling
Mm,
too much, like they're
mm,
talking about their services too much. Every post
mm,
that they make is like, this is why you should work with me, or this is the benefits of working with a coach, or
mm,
things like that. And I think it's good to have some content like that. It's good to share about our services,
mm,
some, but what really grows that engaged audience, which then which causes your following to grow, and it causes your people to be really like interested
mm,
in what you have to offer,
mm,
is by sharing content that has a lot of value. So that's a lot of what I do
mm.
with my audience, is like, how do you create content? Because a lot of people don't even really fully understand, I think, what that means
Exactly.
to.
I've been running a series of blogs at the moment about the word content, and then there was another word then value, which I feel like needs to be explained better because I'm like, you just have to create content with value, and I'm like, oh, that is so jargony. Like, what am I saying? Like, so I'd love to just say that value just means all that knowledge that we all sit on top of, all the stuff we know that we're dying to share with people, and that the little tips and tricks that people could just watch a video with you or read a post of yours and go off and actually take a positive action that's going to move their life in the direction
Right.
that they want it to go in is a value post. Yeah.
Right. Totally. Yeah. I like so our mutual kind of mentor and colleague George Cow has I might be butchering it, but his he described it as something like it's like creating posts where where it's not, where people don't need more. You know,
Mm,
it's like you read the post and it's just inherently valuable. It's like, okay, I
exactly.
got something from this. I
Yeah,
don't
true.
need, it's not pitching your course, or
Yeah,
it's not trying to get you to feel like, oh, I'm missing something, so I need this other thing. It's just like, oh, they gave something to me. Like, this is
yeah,
valuable. And then usually what that does is it makes people feel like, oh, wow, like I want more of that.
yeah,
So
exactly. There's that.
I
And
need to
also people always
mention to
say
this
to me, "Oh
person.
my God, you give so much." It's like, yeah, I give so much because in the like yogic tradition that I studied before I learned to meditate, they have this thing called karma yoga where you just serve selflessly. And I think, I mean, maybe it's an innate part of people or me, but I just got in such a habit of selfless service and being very generous that that feels really good to me to just
Right,
create content that is super generous. And I don't really do it thinking, yes, because they'll really love me and think I'm really generous. It's more just like a natural expression of my being
right,
that I know a bunch and I really actually do want to help people. And if they want to work with me, that's nice. And if they just want to watch my content and make change in their life, that's really great too. And I'm not hung up on making the sale. Like I want it to be really value value based, sustainable, so that I'm feeling great, people are feeling great. And that other thing George says about like they can walk away from that experience and still feel whole. Like you don't feel like
right.
you're less than or
Yeah, yeah,
that you're
yeah,
messed over or like, there's just all these weird psychic tentacles with some kinds of offers that make you feel like, oh, I need to go and like do the 5-part video series because then my business will be great. It's like, well, no.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, totally. I mean, it's like a marketing trick that people do where they make it seem like they're going to give you value, but then what they give you is a bunch of stuff for why you need the other thing
Mm.
that they're selling. And it doesn't, I mean, like that can work if you're doing like a webinar, which your goal is to just convert people into your thing. But when it comes to like growing a real community online,
Mm.
it's much better to just provide actual value.
Yeah.
And another way that I like to think of it is like thinking of the people who are following you, the community that you're building on social media, as people who are already your clients,
Mm.
or already in your program. So
Mhm.
it's like when people are in your program, you're not trying to market to them, you're not trying to get them to buy your stuff. You're just sharing. You're just sharing your wisdom, your value. You're sharing what you think will help them.
Mm.
So when you do that on social media, people feel that. They're like, wow, all I have to do is follow this person and suddenly I feel like I'm in this program where I'm like learning things
Yeah.
regularly.
Yeah, but so many of my
And
clients worry, but like if I give all my good stuff away in my content, then will people still want to work with me?
right. Well, the funny thing is that tends to be the other way around.
Isn't it funny?
The more of your stuff that you give, the more that people want to work with you.
I just want you to say it as well so that when I say it,
Right.
I'm really backed up.
Yeah.
Because I agree, that's definitely been
Yeah.
my experience in my own marketing is the only way I could figure out how to make content was to just answer the questions of my clients via
Right.
video.
To just
And
start helping
then
them.
that
Yeah.
just serves so many people. So many people
Right.
have the same question. And then I feel good because I've ticked off my I made content box for the week. And
Right.
so many people benefit from that. So it's kind of a
Yeah.
win-win. Yeah.
I kind of think of it as like, so one way that I like to distinguish between free versus paid, like free versus paid content, or free, like free sharing versus helping people for money, um is like the free stuff is like the stuff that's kind of easier.
Mm.
It's like you
Yeah.
can you can read it, you can understand it, or you can watch a video and it's like, okay, yeah, I get that. I can do that. I can try out this little method you're using,
Mm.
or like understand the concept that you're presenting. Whereas paid stuff tends to be harder. It's like it's the kind of thing that's like, you could, like an example is like you could share with someone who deals with anxiety. Maybe you could share with them like, hey, there's this trick where if you put your face in cold water or you put ice on your face, it can stop a panic attack, or it can really lower your anxiety. It's like
Mm.
scientifically shown to do that. So that's like a cool trick that you can share on social media, because they can just understand that idea and try it out. But it's another thing where it's like, do you want to, really do some deep emotional like trauma healing in order to actually rewire your nervous system so that you don't experience anxiety as much? That's
Mm,
not the kind of thing that you can just share in a social media post.
true.
Like it's like it's easy to stick your face in cold water. It's hard to go through a therapeutic process where you're really healing your
Mm,
trauma and the core of your anxiety. You know what I mean?
mm,
So
yeah.
it's like that's why I think like when we have skills where we're helping people with these challenging things like overcoming anxiety or successfully marketing your business,
Mm,
it tends to be more difficult than what we can even transfer over social media.
yeah. Yeah.
So that's kind of how I like to distinguish it. It's like don't hold back for everything that you can share on social media, but
Mm,
there's some things you're not going to be able to get into a 10-minute YouTube video
yeah.
or an
And
Instagram
hearing you say
post.
that reminds me as well, as a creator, if you can't really do it in half an hour or an hour, like if your blog post takes longer than an hour to write and publish, or if your content takes longer than half an hour to create and then publish onto Instagram, it's probably too much for a free thing. And then
Right.
you could have a view to like making a book or making a course or doing something or making it
Yeah.
part of a program.
And it's
Even,
probably not
yeah,
even going to be consumed. I mean,
exactly.
if it's that long or that
Exactly.
complex, like and challenging, I mean, people tend to like they don't want things that are challenging on social media.
Mm,
Like they want the easy stuff. Usually when people are really gonna take on a challenging task, they want something that's much more like they want something paid. They want something
mm,
that's more focused, that's more
mm.
serious than like a short YouTube video or a Instagram post.
True. I mean, in the spirit of that, we should probably wrap it up because maybe
Yeah,
we've lost
okay.
all our viewers now. But thank you so much. I feel like there's tons of gold in there, and it's really lovely to chat with you. I appreciate your time. And
Yeah, cool.
so I
Yeah,
guess
thanks
if
for
people want to
having me on.
find you, they'll find you on Instagram.
Yeah, so the best place to find me is Instagram.
Yeah.
So it's at jonahrichmen.com, and there's a dot, so it's jonah.richman.
Yep.
Um, and I mean, you'll probably have it in the
I'll pop
in
it
the
in any notes with the video. Thank you.
cool.
Thanks
Yeah.
so much.
Awesome. Yeah, and then so one thing that I want to share really
Oh,
quick, and
yeah.
so this is something that I recommend that people do if they want to they want to find clients on social media, especially if they have a smaller following,
Yep.
is to connect with people really deeply through marketing research interviews. So
Yeah.
it's like you take an opportunity to really learn a lot by actually connecting with people over Zoom one-on-one.
Mm,
Um, and so you just like interview people who are following you and you learn about them. And the thing is, though, is I've been doing that ever since I started my Instagram page, and
yep.
that's how I get most of my clients come through that. So we'll do an interview, and then after the interview, they're like, "Hey, this was like super sweet connecting with you. Like, tell me more about your work," and then I will,
Mm,
and they'll sign up with me, and it doesn't involve any kind of sales.
yes.
Um, so it's something that or like selling hacks or methods or anything. It's just more connecting. um so that's something that I just want to share that I'm still doing. So if anybody's watching this and they feel like they want some free advice on their Instagram,
Yep.
I'd be happy to do a little trade where I could interview you for a little bit for like 30 minutes, and then I'll share I'll give you feedback or answer
Great.
questions.
I did want
Yeah.
to ask you about that because I did have a question. I
Okay.
guess to do that, to do the interview, you need to have a degree of clarity on what your offer is. Yeah. There's that sort of pre-step.
Uh, I don't think so. No. I mean, you could start interviewing people. Like you have to have some clarity about who you're wanting, like who your people are.
Yep.
It's like what kind of person do you want to offer something to, like
Hmm.
coaching or a course to. Once you figure that out, then interview them, and you could find out more information, and that could actually help you figure out what your
Inform
offer
the
is.
offer. Yeah.
And I mean, if you don't know what you're offering, you might not have anything to offer them on the interview, but at least
Mm,
you get to connect, and then they could kind of stay in your community until you
nice
do
one.
have an offering.
And I know I saw a post of yours recently where you said you DM people when they follow you and you offer the market research interview then.
Yeah. So I used to do that. I haven't been doing that because now I'm at a point where people are signing up for research interviews so frequently that I don't
Okay.
I don't invest the time to actually reach out.
Yeah.
But that's what I recommend that people do when you first start growing your following.
Mhm.
Notice like, okay, so this person followed me. They've been commenting on my stuff. They seem
Mhm.
like really interested in what I have
Mm.
to say. Um, so when I would notice that, I would reach out to them and just say like, hey, I just want to say I appreciate you commenting on my content, and I'd love to interview you for marketing research if you're willing.
I'm gonna
And
try it.
in exchange, I'll offer you some free support, or you can pick my brain if you
Yeah,
want.
cool. I'm gonna do
Um,
it because I've had a couple of people like follow me and be really commenty. I'm like, what do I do with you?
Yeah, yeah, do it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's such a safe thing. I mean, like what a lot of people do is they'll be like, "Oh, offer them a free session or something."
Mm.
But I think free sessions actually kind of put people off because it makes them
Yeah,
feel like
yeah,
it makes them feel like, "Oh, this person's just trying to sell me now."
yeah,
Like they're trying to give me something so that I owe them or
yeah.
something like that. Whereas the marketing research interview is nice because you can do a little trade. So that way it's like you're learning about them, which helps you to write content and helps you to get clear on your niche if you're still figuring that out.
Mm.
And you get to support them. So it's a nice trade. So nobody feels like they owe the other person anything.
Exactly. Yeah, it feels
And
clean.
then yeah, and then so if they're interested in your work, then you could talk about that. But that's not the goal. And so it makes it feel a lot cleaner to me than
Yeah,
the
same.
strategy of like give them a free session and then
Mm.
try to sell them at the end of the session kind
Yeah,
of thing.
I'm glad you
Yeah.
mentioned that. Thanks heaps.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, have a
Cool.
beautiful rest of your day, and I'm
Awesome.
sure
Yeah.
people would
You
love to
too.
see all your tips.
Thanks for chatting. This was really fun.
It's great. All
Yeah.
right. Thanks everyone for
Awesome.
watching,
Cool.
and we'll see you later.
Take care.